Alright, so this is probably going to be the most serious video I will ever make on this channel. It's a very clickbaity way to start a video, but it's actually not clickbait. It's currently March, and March is National MS Awareness Month, along with other things, but for me it's National MS Awareness Month because I have MS, and I've had MS for 9 years now. I actually got diagnosed when I was 19, right before I turned 20. I was actually paralyzed. I wasn't paralyzed, but I was learning how to walk again for my 20th birthday. It's a great birthday gift to myself, learning how to walk again. So why am I making this video? Well, it's a little bit of my story and who I am in a sense. MS is one of those diseases that completely takes over your life when you get diagnosed. I remember most of my childhood I spent a lot of time in pain, headaches and stuff like that from the time I was about 10. It got pretty bad. I went to the doctor quite a bit. They never found anything else wrong because I was young. And I just developed a tolerance for it and I just blocked it all out. But it got worse over time. And because doctors always told me it was, oh, I just need to exercise more. I just need to do this. And it's like, yeah, I'm doing all that stuff. It's not even helping slightly. So it got to the point where I just started ignoring everything. So I developed a super high tolerance for pain. Super high. To the point where the nurse in one of my eyes actually died. Not quite a stroke, but very similar to a stroke. And I didn't even go to the hospital because to me that was slightly above my normal headaches, which oddly enough led to me being diagnosed with MS from getting my eye examined after because my eye didn't stop hurting. Spent 3 hours getting an eye exam, later to be sent to get MRIs to find out that there's massive nerve damage in one of my eyes. And then I spent about 6 months back and forth going to doctors, MRIs, blood tests, every blood test I can think of. Whoa, actually every blood test a doctor can think of before I finally got a spinal tap and ended up back in the hospital a few days later with half my body paralyzed. The right half of my body going down pretty much the center. My right hand and my right leg had very little use, so I couldn't walk and I couldn't write, which was a really bad thing for somebody that was actually spending a great deal of time writing and was actually trying to become an author at the time. That kind of derailed that track completely. But it took me 6 months or so to learn to walk, learn to write, and learn to function as if nothing had ever happened. And then a year later it happened again to my left side, which was great because left side at that point had become the dominant side. I was still writing with my right hand, but everything else I did with my left hand. So I once again had to learn how to do everything over again and then learn how to walk again. Granted, it only took me 2 weeks to learn how to walk again. A lot of things I actually can't do anymore, even though it's 7 years later, but a lot of those things, it kind of doesn't even matter. It's nothing important. Then a few years after that, my right side was paralyzed again. Wasn't as bad. Actually, it was as bad. I just didn't take it as badly as the past 2 times, seeing that I had already been through it twice. It was a lot easier to deal with. I learned how to walk again pretty quickly in under a week. I learned how to use my hands again in a few more days. Mostly I compensated for anything I couldn't do with my right hand with my left hand very quickly. And the fact that I had practiced doing everything with both hands already made it a lot easier. I can write my name with my left hand and my right hand. It's the only thing I can do with both hands, is write both names. I don't tend to write very much. I type a lot now. My handwriting completely is horrible. It's like worse than it was when I first learned to write. So I tend to avoid writing. Probably the most painful thing that has happened to me since I've gotten MS was my nerves in the upper part of my body and my skin decided that all it could feel was pain. So my only sensations that came from my skin for about 3 months was pain. Granted, it wasn't excruciating pain 90% of the time, but the slightest touch caused pain, which meant it actually hurt to wear a shirt for a very long time. It took about 3 months for it to completely dissipate, and it was bad for about 3 months. So the whole thing lasted about 6 months, and I spent most of that time just in pain. Kind of hard to sleep, but then again, sleep has just never been my friend, ever. Anyway, moving on from that. What is MS? Well, it has a lot of technical stuff. It's basically your immune system, the white blood cells in your body is attacking the fat tissue around your nerve cells. That is what classifies as MS. It is an autoimmune disease, and there are many forms of autoimmune diseases. MS in particular is a form where your immune system attacks the fat cells around your nerves, which can reduce the nerve's ability ability to communicate with each other, which causes paralysis and a whole list of things such as twitches, which I twitch quite often. I can't hide that one. I can just edit it out though, so you won't actually see me twitching at any point. Editing helps with that one. It can cause things such as drop leg, which is a really weird thing that I've only experienced one, where your leg actually just drops back to the floor for no reason in the middle of you walking. It's like your leg all of a sudden weighs a lot, so it just falls back to the floor and can make you trip. But I've only experienced that once, thankfully. But I also found that wearing boots that are quite heavy helps with that, because it makes you always focus on what you're actually doing and walking. So I tend to not lose control when I'm walking, which can be annoying because I can't actually run anymore. Yeah, that's the thing I can't actually do still. I just never learned to run again. Never saw the point. I don't run. Symptoms that I have are actually quite different from everyone else, because one of those unusual diseases where the initial symptoms actually present differently for everyone that has it. There are a few things in common, such as being tired, because that's something we all have in common. We're always tired. For some reason, sleep just never comes. I sleep on average 5 hours at a time, and that's a good night. I'll get 5 hours of sleep at once. Even though I'll be exhausted before I fall asleep, I'll be exhausted when I wake up. Doesn't matter. I won't go back to sleep. About 5 hours is as much as I get. Anyway, good news, or at least good things, I guess. Things I've learned over the past 9 years that help a lot. One thing that really helps after flare-ups is learning to relax. Relaxing actually helps prevent things like spasms. It took me 6 months to learn to walk again originally, because the spasms that I would get when I would walk, my body would lock up, not just the right side, but my entire body. Both my hands would lock up and I wouldn't be able to move at all. And I found that just learning how to relax, learning meditation and just letting go actually helps quite a bit. It's one of the reasons I learned to walk again so quickly the second and third time it happened to me. And it actually helps deal with quite a few symptoms, especially when things like having twitches and things like twitching, especially when you start twitching a lot. Relaxing can relieve the stress on the nerves and can cause your twitching to stop. Well, at least it helps me stop twitching quite often. Another thing that you might want to consider if you've just been diagnosed with MS is the sun is no longer your friend. It is no longer your friend at all. The sun is like now your greatest enemy. I'm not even exaggerated about that. The sun has become your mortal enemy when you're diagnosed with MS. And ironically, you need it. Or at least you need vitamin D, so I take a lot of vitamin D. The sun burns. It actually burns my skin. If I'm outside for more than a minute, my skin will start to burn. I almost feel like I'm a vampire sizzling in the sun every time I walk outside. It's weird. Heat and MS patients, it seems as though that's the one thing we all have in common that we all don't like. It's heat, and MS just does not seem to mix at all. It just doesn't seem to mix. Heat does not like us. I like the cold. Apparently cold isn't all that fond of us either, but it's better than the heat, so I take the cold over the heat any day. So if you've just been diagnosed with MS, I would recommend avoiding things that are outside for a while. Just avoid being hot and avoiding things that are outside for a while. It will help, especially if you've just been diagnosed and you're going through a flare-up. Staying out of the heat really helps your body heal quicker. It really helps you deal with the symptoms, especially. It can help deal with dizziness a lot. Yes, that was a bottle of water. I drink one of those every day at least. Something that also helps greatly when having MS is staying hydrated, especially staying hydrated with water. I drink that much water on a daily basis. It does actually have a big impact. It helps keep me cooler during the day, especially because I do have an actual job. It does help me stay cool when I'm at work, especially, and it does keep me from getting tired as easily. Staying hydrated is very good for your body to begin with. And I avoid salt. Another thing you're gonna probably want to do is you're gonna probably want to start avoiding salt. Apparently salt is not good for us. It can agitate symptoms of MS when you have too much salt in your body. And I've noticed that most MS medications seem to raise your blood pressure, so avoiding salt won't hurt at all, seeing that it will probably keep your blood pressure from skyrocketing like mine does quite often. Another thing to avoid when you have MS is get rid of some stress. I avoid as much stress as possible because overstressing can agitate symptoms. It can even lead to flare-ups when you don't. It can even stress your body to the point where you actually get a flare-up, which is just going to stress you out even more and just puts you in more danger and makes you sicker and harder to deal with things. So reducing the stress in your life can and will actually help you quite a bit with MS. Now on to the diet tips. I don't actually have any because I haven't found a diet that significantly helps me with MS. I've changed my diet quite a few times and nothing actually gets better. The only thing I find that I can have in my diet that helps is just drinking a lot of water. Whenever I don't have water, whenever I drink sodas too much, the next day I always have a headache. I always seem to be more tired than usual the next day, or even by the end of the day I'm more tired than usual, just because I didn't have as much water as I normally do. But drinking lots of water does help quite significantly with a lot of the symptoms, especially with the tiredness and the fatigue that you're going to face. That's just something that will happen. Not sleeping and your muscles not really relaxing much does fatigue them. That is something that happens quite often. Drinking water does help. The vitamins that I found that actually helps, there's not much. I take vitamin D. My doctor tells me I need to make sure I have a very high vitamin D level because it will help prevent flare-ups, so I take quite a bit of that. Drink milk quite a bit too. A really unusual thing that I've actually found that does help, especially with the headaches and being tired, is creatine, which I originally started taking when I was trying to exercise to lose weight. I started taking creatine to see if it would help, and instead of helping me lose weight, it actually started helping me feel less tired, and it made my headaches a little bit less painful, so I actually take creatine quite often now. I did a little bit of research on it, and it turns out it mostly helps your body retain water, which makes sense. That water does help a lot with the symptoms of MS, so you can try it and see if it helps. I haven't found that it has any bad side effects, so might as well give it a try. I also found an unusual drug called Nonopet, I think it's pronounced. I don't even know, but it's one of the neurotropic drugs. It's supposedly the strongest one. Apparently a lot of people experience headaches with it. I haven't had headaches while taking it. I haven't taken it in a while just because I haven't really ordered any, but it does help you think a little bit more clearly. It helps with the fact that you go blank quite often when you have MS, because I go blank a lot more often than I used to, so it does help with that. But it's something that's pretty experimental and it does have side effects, so it's up to you if you want to try it or not. I tried it just because why not, and it helped me. It doesn't help everyone, but it's something you can actually try. And finally, I'm gonna give a tip. Medication is very important when you have MS. I've been on quite a few. I originally started with Betaseron B1 infusion, which actually wasn't an infusion, it was just a shot that I gave to myself every other day for about 4.5 years, 5 years actually. No, a little bit more than 5 years. I actually stopped about 2.5 years ago, so I was on that quite a long time. Then I was on something called Tecfidera. I think that was the one that was an actual pill, but that really didn't work. And right now, which seems to be working a little bit better than the last two, is Tesibri, which is what I'm currently taking. It's an infusion once a month, which I had today, which is why I still have this on, because leaving it on for a while keeps it from abuse. I do my infusion once a month, which is actually not that bad. I don't think about having MS a lot, which helps. Also, the fact that I only do it once a month actually helps quite a bit. Drawback to that is I have about 3 weeks of normal functionality, 3 weeks of no side effects and no anything usually, unless I'm going through a flare-up, which I haven't had for a couple years. So a couple days before I have to take my infusion again, I kind of shut down. It's kind of like going through withdrawal. It's annoying, but it only lasts a couple days. I get my infusion, although withdrawal symptoms go away by the end of the day, but I get super tired, which is why I'm sitting down and why my voice is the way it is right now, because I'm exhausted, even though I've actually just been sitting all day. So 1 hour infusion, by the end of it I do feel a little bit better. I usually have a headache before the infusion and afterwards I usually don't. Oddly enough, my blood pressure even goes down by the end of the infusion. It actually went down 10 points today from the beginning of the infusion to the end of the infusion. It's a medication that works for me, so finding a medication that works for you, whether it be pills or whether it be shots every day or once a month, there's shots you take 2 weeks also. Finding one that works for you correctly and one that helps you not think about having MS really helps, because the reason I've gotten quite a bit better since I started this one is because I'm no longer thinking about I have to take a shot every other day. Well, right before I started this, I had to take a pill every morning and every night before bed. So taking my medication was not my focus for the entire day. It wasn't the first thing I thought about and it wasn't the last thing I thought about every day, which really helps your mental state, not thinking about the fact that you have MS, because that can really mess with your head. because thinking about it too much makes you realize your body is basically trying to kill you, basically. And I do joke about it quite often because my body basically had a super immune system, but my immune system is not the smartest, so it goes ahead and it kills all the things that are bad for me, and then it goes at the end, runs out of stuff to do, and it just goes, oh well, I don't have anything else to do, so then it just starts bullying the rest of my body, basically what it is. That's how I see it sometimes. It helps me not be so depressed about it. Anyway, that's my story. I figured I'll do because it's National MS Awareness Month, and I figured why not tell my story? Maybe it'll help someone, because MS can be something that seems scary, and it is, but you can get better and you can handle it. It's not the end of the world. Life will still go on. You may go through some challenges, but your life will still go on. You can still achieve stuff. Since I have MS, I have written 7 or 8. I don't even know. I lost track of how much I've actually written. I've written about 9 books since then. Currently re-editing those to actually publish them now. I've ran 3 websites. I've bought 2 cars. I've lowered a car, which is actually cool. Repainted the car quite a few times. My car is literally the most unique car on the planet at this point. I've added lights, taken lights out of my cars. I've done tons of things since I've gotten MS that I didn't think I would ever be able to do, but I still managed to do them. Took some more time, but at the same time, I still managed to do them. I still have a full-time job. I still work 40 hours a week, and look, I find time to even make videos and edit videos, which takes longer than it should. Video editing sucks. So anyway, if you have MS, and especially if you've just been diagnosed with MS, yeah, it sucks, but it gets better. Medicine changes all the time. There is not a lot of medicine right now, but they're getting more medicine, and the medicine is actually becoming more effective than it was. Even when I first got diagnosed with MS, because I was on medicine and I still got flare-ups. Now flare-ups are less common, and body's actually healing from flare-ups faster than they were before, and recovery is actually a lot higher than it was when I got diagnosed 9 years ago. Just want to say, if you have MS, it's not the end of the world. It goes on. Yeah, there are not a lot of people with it. I personally never actually met another person with MS in my everyday life. Oh well, that makes me special. I'm awesome. And you're awesome too. Subscribe, because my other videos are a lot more entertaining and a lot more fun. We all need to laugh, me especially, and I like laughing at myself. And you can join me, so I'll see you guys in the next video.